What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today we're going to be doing another episode of Versus. If you don't know what Versus is, it's a series where we compare, generally speaking, two weapons head-to-head to make you a better Call of Duty player. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at perks. The reason being is that perks take up the exact same amount of slots in a class that a weapon does. So it's super important that whatever perks you're using in the Pick 10 system, they have to be the best of the best perks. So if you'd like to see me do more of these videos where I look at other things like perks, attachments, and other things, putting them head-to-head against other things, leave a like rating and let me know that you want to see more and more of these things. Also, let me know down in the comment section below which two things you'd like to see me compare, whether they're perks, whether they're attachments, whether they're score streaks. Let me know down in the comment section below. So if you want to see more like this, like I said, hit that like and let me know down in the comments. But today we're going to be looking at two second tier or second class perks. The perks we're going to be comparing today is Hardwired. Now, Hardwired counters a million things, and then we're going to be comparing it to Fast Hands. Fast Hands basically speeds up your gameplay in several different ways, which we're going to be talking about. So these are very, very different perks. And if that's the case, then why are we comparing them? Well, like I said earlier, they are both Perk 2 perks. And what this means is that to use both of them at the same time, you would need to take up 3 slots of your Pick 10. Because the first perk, let's say Hardwired, then you need Perk 2 Greed, and then you also need the third perk. So 3 slots in your Pick 10 system. And that's a big, big chunk of your perks. And I really don't think that either of these perks are worth taking up 3 slots for. However, I do think that both of these perks are worth taking up 1 spot. So it's super important that you know which one is actually going to be better for your gameplay. So now that we know exactly why we're comparing these perks, let's look at what they do. We'll start with Fast Hands, and the description is super short. It says swap weapons faster and aim faster after sprinting. Well, one of these things is just completely false. With Fast Hands, you do not aim faster after sprinting. The thing that makes you aim faster is Quick Draw, which is an attachment, not Fast Hands. Fast Hands does something altogether different. So if the description's lying, what does this perk actually do? So it does swap weapons faster, and it also makes it so you can throw grenades and tactical grenades a little bit faster as well. You swap weapons about 0.3 seconds faster, but it depends on the weapon. And as far as aiming faster after sprinting, that's what the lie is. You don't aim faster at all after sprinting. What it actually does is decrease your sprint out time. What is sprint out time, and what exactly does this mean? This means that if you are sprinting, it will decrease the time it takes for you to fire a bullet. Not aim down sights, fire a bullet. And it does this by about half the time. So let's say you fire a bullet normally in 0.2 seconds. With Fast Hands, you're going to be firing a bullet in 0.1 seconds. Now, this is only important for hip firing because the aim down sights time is going to be the exact same whether you're using Fast Hands or not. It only decreases the amount of time it takes to fire a bullet, your sprint out time. So the one thing I will say is if you're using Quick Draw with Fast Hands, it does decrease both. So you will fire faster and you will also aim down sights faster, and using the two together is a very, very good idea. So on a class where you're using Fast Hands, you probably want to also be using Quick Draw, or else it's kind of pointless unless the weapon you're using you're very comfortable with firing from the hip, something like a shotgun, something like an SMG. And this is what I'm going to suggest to you. When you're using Fast Hands, use Quick Draw. It's gonna be what improves your game the most, is using the two of them. On top of that, I'm going to suggest using Fast Hands with weapons you're comfortable with firing from the hip. For example, shotguns, for example, SMGs. In fact, the Dingo is actually pretty good at firing from the hip too, believe it or not. But all of those weapons are good at firing from the hip, and I automatically always use Quick Draw with those weapons as well. Any SMG I use Quick Draw. Sometimes not so much with the shotguns, but also with shotguns, I'm generally firing from the hip anyway, so that aim down sights time doesn't really matter. The sprint out time does. And once again, Fast Hands improves your sprint out time. So those are the situations when Fast Hands is really good. Now let's go ahead and look at the other perk. So as you can see here, the Hardwired description is absolutely massive compared to Fast Hands. And if we go ahead and read the description here, it says, Hardwired makes you immune to counter UAVs, power cores, EMP grenades, and smoke screens. Also, you won't trigger trip mines, shock charges, or the C4 alarm. Also, it reduces your digital imprint against enemy tracker and 6 Sense perks. So just counters a massive, massive amount of stuff. Now let's quickly talk about exactly how it does these things. So starting off with the counter UAV, power core, EMP grenades, and smoke screen, normally what these things do to you is they screw with your heads up display or HUD. Normally like counter UAV blocks out your UAV up in the top corner. Power core screws with your whole heads-up display, so does EMP grenade, and smoke screen again blocks out that mini-map. With Hardwired, this will no longer happen. Your HUD will not be affected in the slightest when getting hit by any of these things. So it's a really good counter to all those things. Now next up, trip mines, shock charges, or the C4 alarm. Again, this is super simple, super plain, super simple. It does not trigger them. You can run straight past trip mines, shock charges, and we all know how annoying those things are, and the C4 alarm will no longer be triggered. So game modes like Search and Destroy, where people are using a ton of these things and camping their asses off, this is incredibly good to counter them, because they may place that shock charge or trip mine behind them to know when someone's coming up behind them, and all of a sudden you will be right behind them because you can run past that trip mine or run past that shock charge. It's incredibly elegant way of countering all of those things in game. So as far as Sixth Sense and Tracker, it doesn't completely counter Sixth Sense and Tracker. What it actually does is negate the effect of them by just a little bit. So what I mean by this is with Sixth Sense, normally the person could be standing about 10 feet away from you. It'll show you the direction that they're coming on your minimap. It'll show you this like little red trapezoid shaped thing on your minimap, and you'll know there's an enemy coming from that direction. As far as using Hardwired, that enemy pretty much has to be standing shoulder to shoulder with you for that Sixth Sense to be actually triggered and you see where they're coming from. So at that point, Sixth Sense is pretty much useless when they're already standing behind you. You're already going to be dead by the time that Sixth Sense triggers. With Tracker, it reduces the length of the footsteps behind the person by about 3/4. So that super short distance of footsteps, again, you pretty much have to be right beside that person to actually see the footsteps on the ground, completely negates that perk as well, which is nice when you're using Hardwired. To me, this is the most underrated perk in the entire game. It shocks me how few people actually use this, and if you haven't tried it, you definitely need to. It counters so many things, including perks, including score streaks, including tactical grenades. It counters so many damn things in this game. It's unbelievable. So definitely give it a try. Now the question is, when should you use Hardwired and when should you use Fast Hands? And there's a super simple answer. So the main difference between these two perks is one is a super aggressive perk, being Fast Hands. With this perk, it improves you as a player, makes you shoot faster, and makes you throw grenades faster and switch weapons faster. It improves you as a soldier. Whereas Hardwired is a super passive perk. It doesn't make you better as a soldier, it simply makes it so certain things won't affect you as a soldier. It's more defensive, whereas Fast Hands is offensive. So to understand which one is actually better, the answer is it depends what game mode you're playing, it depends what situations you're putting yourself in, and it depends how you play as a player. If you are using an SMG or a shotgun frequently and you're a running gun player, you're an offensive player, you want to use that Fast Hands. If you're using an assault rifle or sniper rifle or an LMG frequently, you're a bit of a slower player, you want to counter what the enemy is using, you want that passive or defensive perk, you want Hardwired. Now the way I run this is whenever I'm using an SMG or a shotgun, I will be running Fast Hands. I will also be running Quick Draw with the Fast Hands because they so heavily complement each other. If you don't have one without the other, it's bad. You need both of them at the same time. It sucks it takes up 2 slots on your pick 10 system, but they work so well together that you need them both there. However, if I'm using an assault rifle, if I'm using an LMG, I'm going to be running Hardwired because it's not going to be as important for me to get those fast shots out of my weapon because I'm generally speaking going to be further away from the person I'm shooting at. On top of that, like I said, Fast Hands only improves your sprint out time, which means when you're firing from the hip, that original bullet you're going to be firing, that is what Fast Hand improves. Not your aim down sights time, your sprint out time. So for me, when I'm using that assault rifle and I'm keeping my distance, I don't need to be spraying and praying, firing from the hip like I do when I'm using an SMG. So like I said, it depends on your playstyle, but that is the way I would use these two perks. And the last thing I'll say, is it possible to use perk 2 greed with these things and use both of them? 100% it is. I wouldn't suggest it because as far as Fast Hands goes, you're going to be wanting to using Quick Draw with it, which means it takes up another slot, and there's so many other important things. For example, weapon attachments, weapons themselves, other perks like Ghost or Sixth Sense or Blast Suppressor. There's so many good things to have in your class. I don't think it's worth using both of them. That's why it's important to know when to to use either of the perks. So guys, if you enjoyed the video and made it this far, it would be fantastic if you could leave a like rating. It really helps me out and lets me know that you want to see more videos just like this one. Also, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I upload new Call of Duty videos every single day of the week, and if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, that red subscribe button is sitting there with your name on it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can check out my Twitch, Twitter down in the comment section below. Also, I uploaded a vlog to my Let's Play channel yesterday. It is also down in the description. There's tons of Let's Plays on there. There's some Overwatch. I just finished playing Inside. Like I said, there's a weekly vlog over there, so that link is down in the description. You can check that out down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love every single one of you, and until next time, guys, peace out.